Hey humans, it's Hannah. Welcome back to the channel. This week we are going to dive into the dark side of Reddit. It's something that I haven't touched on too much on my channel. I have done Reddit stories before, and of course Reddit is involved in every internet mystery and creepy thing on the internet that ever existed. However, I've never actually done a Reddit video, and I thought it would be really interesting if I spent the time to dive into the dark Reddit posts that kind of remained unsolved over the years and were open-ended, and spend hours digging through different forums on Reddit to find these for you. So the first one today that we're going to talk about is a Reddit user who ended up in a full-on mental breakdown spiral, very, very bad mental health, to the point where he was, saying he was going to what, and all over a thought experiment. So we're going to talk about that one first. Today's video is supported with a sponsor, so we have to roll to that, but I'll be right back with you. This video is sponsored by Love and Pies. You guys know I've been playing Love and Pies every day since September. It's a Merge 2 game where you build your own cafe and meet tons of interesting characters along the way. Here's my town so far and how I've decorated it. The game has this really engaging story about Amelia taking over her mom's burned down cafe, and you have to help her rebuild it. But there's also a mystery to unravel surrounding Amelia's mother, who has disappeared. Plus, there's just daily small town gossip and romance. The eccentric characters in the game are always getting into some sort of tomfoolery, and it is so entertaining. Most of all, I really appreciate how diverse the characters are. The game has LGBTQ+ characters, different races, body types, genders. I've never seen a mobile game be so inclusive before, and it's very refreshing. Love and Pies is a Merge 2 game for your phone or your tablet. You merge items in order to serve customers, and you get these super exciting rewards the more customers you serve. It never gets boring because there's tons of events and challenges to play in order to get extra prizes and bonuses. I do love to brag about this, but I win Customer Clash almost every time, and I always win all the other challenges because I have strategized so well. Download the game now on iOS or Android. It's free to download, and trying it out always supports the channel. My special link will be in the description right below this video. So the first one we're talking about today is a user named AFH43. So most of the time when we do Reddit in this series, it's going to be about a specific post, but this is actually about an entire account. This account's last post reads, "Quantum immortality. I'm killing myself soon. It's too much. I can't do it anymore." So we will get back to this user and what exactly happened here, but first we need to talk about quantum immortality. Unless you are a scientist or you are just very interested and read a lot about philosophy, physics, and quantum theory, you've most likely never heard of this. Now, first, before I explain, big disclaimer, I am not a scientist, and this theory is complex and very confusing, but I'm going to try to explain it in the most simplistic way based on the research I have done. So if you're not a scientist and you're watching, just know that this is a very dumbed down explanation of what it is. And same to my scientist viewers out there who do have a good grasp on quantum theory and all that. I apologize that this is going to sound probably really, really stupid to you, but again, this is not a science channel. We are just going to explain it as simply as and clearly as we can. So quantum immortality is not a testable, tangible thing. It is a thought experiment. But this thought experiment is one that can and has pushed people into full-on existential crisis. I'm going to read a passage from the Wikipedia Simple English page about quantum immortality first, and then I will explain it more in layman's terms. But this will give us a foundation for those that do like a little bit more complicated language. The thought experiment was created by Max Tegmark. In the thought experiment, a person stands in front of a gun, which fires if it detects a subatomic particle as having an upward spin, or does not fire if the gun detects a downward spin. The gun does this repeatedly. From an outsider perspective, both outcomes are equally likely. However, according to the thought experiment, if the many worlds interpretation is true, the person in front of the gun finds that the gun never fires, even though this is very, very unlikely. In the many worlds interpretation, the gun fires in one world and does not fire in another, but the person can only continue being conscious exists in a world in which the gun does not fire. According to the thought experiment, such a person would find themselves to be immortal. So based on my understanding from this, and also reading a lot of other people's simpler explanations on Reddit, first, to understand quantum immortality, you have to understand the many worlds interpretation. The multiple worlds interpretation is basically the theory that because the universe is so vast and so large, everything that could possibly exist does exist somewhere, and therefore there are multiple, if not infinite, amount of worlds. Basically, it's the theory that parallel universes exist and that there are many, many, many of them within our universe. So say that the many worlds interpretation is true, just hypothetically, quantum immortality would suggest that therefore, even if you die in this world or one world, you would have to survive in another world. E.g., if you got hit by a bus tomorrow, there would be a parallel universe within our universe where there was the same you who did not get hit by a bus. And therefore, it is conceivable that your particular consciousness in whatever world it is immortal, because there is always a world in which one thing happens and you die, but the opposite happens in another world and you don't die. Some even say that if you were hit by a bus or some other tragic accident happens to you that would kill you, that event splits a parallel world into another parallel world. So it's a thought experiment that assumes that a lot of things are true that we don't know are actually true. So let's go back to this user and their post. Quantum immortality. I'm killing myself soon. It's too much. I can't do it anymore. It says there's 2 comments, but they have been deleted. This post is from February 6th, 2017, and this user has not commented or posted on anything on Reddit since. This user's first post was on April 20th, 2016, almost a year prior. We know this is not a troll because this account was active. This wasn't a throwaway account. He had been posting for almost 1 year until he stopped posting pretty consistently. All of his posts before February 2nd, 2017 were very normal, just very normal Reddit stuff. But then on February 2nd, 2017, he asked r/science, "The theory of quantum immortality has driven me to a really dark place. I'm living in a state of pure terror. Is there reason not to believe it is true? Can it be debunked?" Then on the same day in Ask Physics, "The theory of quantum immortality has driven me to a state of pure anxiety and terror over the last week. Is it true? Has it been debunked? I can't do this anymore." I would say most of the comments in all of his posts, because he continues to post very similar titles such as this, are very supportive. A lot of people that are interested in this kind of stuff and have a good grasp on what quantum immortality are trying to explain to him that the theory is most likely hogwash. There's no reason to believe that this is actually possible. People, for the most part, were trying to calm him down, trying to explain to OP why it could be debunked, because OP was asking people to debunk it for his own anxiety. But anytime somebody tried, he seemed to reject, no matter what the explanation was, he seemed to reject what they were saying, even though he was asking for help and asking for someone to explain to him why this couldn't be true. When people tried, he didn't believe them. One person asked him what made him so anxious about it. Was he anxious that it might be true or that it might not be true? And OP replied, "What makes me anxious is the fact that I don't want to be alive against my will. I don't want to live forever." So his existential crisis seems to be coming from the fact that he fears being immortal, and that if this is true, he couldn't bear the thought of him being immortal when he didn't want to be. The next day on February 3rd, he posts a similar question several more times in different subreddits. Over the next few days, he posts a version of the same question in even more subreddits. Many people tried to explain to him why the theory was bullshit or why he shouldn't worry about it, and tried to reason with him. He begs for flaws in the theory, but like I said, he doesn't believe people when they try to give him those flaws. He's just sure that it has to be real. There's no world that it could make sense that it's not real. And then on February 7th, he explains that he's ending it because he cannot take the depression that this thought experiment has caused him. This is, of course, morbidly ironic, as if he believed quantum immortality to be real and he feared it, he sent himself right into it early. Now, this, of course, him disappearing after threatening to S-word and then after having this big seemingly mental breakdown, of course, concerned a lot of people. This remains a mystery in the sense that we don't know exactly what happened to OP. There's never been an update that I could actually find. However, there might be a glimmer of hope that he is still okay, alive, and well. In one of these many posts about quantum immortality on February 4th, he wrote this: "Existential crisis. It won't stop. I need help. I can't do it anymore. I fear that because I am something in this infinite universe, I will always be alive. Quantum immortality makes so much sense to me, and it is ruining my life. What do I do about it? I need to rest." On this post, several users claim that there was an update from this guy in 2022. He's alive and actually posted an update that he's been diagnosed with OCD. He sounded very troubled in the post and later took it down. "If you're reading AFH43, I hope you're well, mate, and getting the help you need." Another person said he's still alive, he's been diagnosed with OCD, and there have been no further posts. And I saw a couple other people commenting the same thing, people obviously referring to the same post. And it is very strange because people said that he posted that and then deleted it quickly. I don't know why he would delete it when so many people were concerned about him. But it's just weird to me though that we cannot find the post, that nobody has a link to the post. And did he do it on another account and nobody linked it? Because if he did it on that account, there should have been a post that said deleted, right? Reddit doesn't really actually delete stuff. They delete the body of a post, but not the title and the post itself. So I don't know where that post is, and that's why I can't say for 100% that he's okay, because people even said he still sounded distraught in this post, and then he deleted it soon afterwards. But it is a comfort that he supposedly posted this in 2022, years after he said he was going to do this. When people ask for proof, just like I would have done, nobody can seem to reply or leave a link. It's very frustrating. I do have to say, though, that an OCD diagnosis would make sense. I do hope that that's true and that he's still alive and well, because OCD is not only common, but very treatable. And I would say this does make sense, as OCD can cause these not only compulsive, uncontrollable thoughts from like entering your brain, but you get obsessive about them and you can't control them. I'm not talking totally out of my ass. I am not like diagnosed with heavy OCD or anything, but I'll say I have some OCD tendencies, and I do suffer from extremely intrusive thoughts. And so I just can understand why something like this could send somebody over the edge, especially if they actually had like severe OCD, and how this could quite possibly really, really send them into this obsessive oblivion where they just can't stop picturing what would happen in quantum immortality. Anyway, I hope this person is alive and well. I would love for this to be actually officially solved one day, because I don't know where this post is that everybody's talking about. This next one is so unbelievably creepy and makes you wonder if these people came in very, very close contact and gotten close relationships with somebody who is potentially going to go on to be a serial killer, or at least violent or something like that. So this was posted on August 30th, 2018, and this was a complete throwaway account. The posts have now been deleted off of Reddit, but the actual posts, the body of the posts, have been thankfully archived. I've been with my boyfriend for a year. Our relationship was great, and we honestly never had any serious problems. We both have full-time jobs and live together. He's good friends with my younger brother as well, mainly because of their shared interest in fitness, workouts, etc. They hang out a good amount and go to the gym together. In hindsight, the fact that they're good friends makes it all the more creepier. Yesterday, I was home alone and my boyfriend was at work. I needed to print something out, but my laptop wasn't working at all. My boyfriend has several laptops, and there's one in particular he never uses. At least I've never seen him use it. I thought it was some dusty old thing. I grabbed it and it was not shut down properly. It took me straight to the photo albums, and there were hundreds of pics of my brother saved. Most were pulled from his social media accounts, but there were also pics of him from this rugby team's website. WTF. This isn't even the worst. There was an album that only consisted of creep shots and videos. Pics of him sleeping and even videos of him getting changed. You could clearly see in the vids that he wasn't aware of being recorded. What the fucking fuck? The last pic he uploaded was literally last week. This is so creepy, I don't even know what to say. There were also pics of someone's gym clothes, and I'm assuming they're also my brother's. I'm confused, disgusted, and shocked. What the hell is going on? When he came back from work, I went straight to sleep. I couldn't even face him. I honestly can't think of a good reason he would do this. I mean, straight guys don't usually do this, right? I don't know if I should even confront him about it. Should I ask what this whole thing is about? Too long didn't read. Boyfriend has tons of pics and videos of my brother saved on his old laptop. It's extremely creepy, and I don't even know how to confront him about it. The top comment on this post says, it's not just that your boyfriend is sexually attracted to your brother, but that he's clearly obsessive. I'm a single guy, and I will look at Facebook pictures of my crush, but I don't save them to my computer. That's super creepy. And him taking pictures of your brother sleeping sounds criminal. This is a lot worse than your boyfriend being secretly gay. The next comment said, in my opinion, saving them isn't so much the concern as is taking creep shots of him. That's serious. WTF. I would take the laptop, show my brother, and then go to the police and report it. So I just want to make a quick note here that at the end she says, I mean, straight guys don't usually do this, right? I don't think she was trying to be homophobic. I think she honestly didn't know if this was like something that could be normal in some circles, and that I think she honestly, it sounds like she's young and doesn't actually know that this is insanely creepy, but that is a very homophobic comment, whether she meant it or intended it to be as much. And I just want to be very clear that this is creepy and obsessive serial killer type behavior. This doesn't have anything to do with being straight or gay, just as many of the comments told her, like, no, this is a lot worse than him being secretly gay. Like, that's not what you should be concerned about. I just want to be very clear and call that part out of the post, because that was just like passive homophobia without, I don't think it was intentional. But anyway, okay. So of course, everybody is understandably worried about her and her brother, for that matter, because this is obsessive, creepy behavior, especially because they had no idea. He's acting normal and he doesn't have any sort of sign that he's obsessed with her brother. So then she posts an update. I, 24 female, found hundreds of pics of my brother, 20 male on my boyfriend, 24 male's laptop. Can anyone explain to me what's going on? So they're all in their like early 20s. She's 24. So here is her update. Sorry to disappoint, but this isn't a positive update. I'm still trying to mentally process it all, hence the delayed post. She posted this on September 13th, so a couple weeks after the original post. I grabbed the laptop to take pics of the photo albums. I found way more stuff than I originally stumbled upon. A lot of commenters in the original post said that he probably used me to get closer to my brother. I didn't quite believe it at first, but they were right. While I was taking pics of the photo albums, I found more folders. He began saving these pictures 4 to 5 months before we started dating, and my brother didn't even know him at the time. That realization sent chills down my spine. I also went on the internet. The bookmarks, the browser history, it was all horrific. I'm not going to elaborate because it's honestly sickening. It's clear that he has an obsession with my brother and extremely violent and disturbing fantasies about him. I'm not talking about BDSM or bondage, although some of that was there too. This is absolutely messed up, scary stuff. I cannot believe that I was so clueless about everything. I went over to my brother's place and explained everything, showing him proof on the actual laptop. He was shocked / creeped out, of course, but he didn't believe that my ex was behind this for different reasons, making excuses for him, but he's not gay, he wouldn't do something like this, etc. I wanted to go to the police, but he completely refused. I explained that this isn't just a crush from a seemingly straight friend, this is an unhealthy psychotic obsession. He completely denied that he was in danger and seemed embarrassed more than anything else. I told him that X actually started creeping on him months before the relationship begun and took all those creep shots. Besides, the browsing history and bookmarks were specific to him. That would make anyone freak out. When I showed him the pics of his clothes, he was very confused and asked me why X would steal his dirty clothes, but he still didn't want to go to the police. My plan was actually to confront X in public, but my brother just straight away texted him to come over. Side note, he arrived super fast. I wonder what he was expecting. When X came, I showed him the laptop and asked him to explain. The entire situation was so bizarre. While I was talking, he seemed incredibly angry. I've never seen such a look on his face before. But then he calmed down and casually confessed to everything. He said it was just a quote-unquote habit he got into and that he's truly sorry. At that point, my brother said that this is probably a prank and that it wasn't funny, etc. I started crying a little and X rolled his eyes and told me to stop crying. He was so nonchalant and cold, I didn't even recognize him anymore. Then he said that he would immediately stop doing this if we kept this to ourselves. I think my brother finally believed him then because he was absolutely dumbstruck. X said that he had taken down the cameras too and that we shouldn't make a big deal out of it. I asked him where the cameras are and he proceeded to show us. He probably thought he was a good guy for cooperating with us and that it would make the situation less creepy. Turns out there was a camera in the shower as well. It was nauseating. The conversation that followed was extremely uncomfortable, and X said some very provocative, inappropriate things. They ended up having a huge argument about the stolen clothes, amongst other topics, and the rest was pretty awful. I eventually went to stay at a friend's place. I had already packed my stuff anyway. Later that night, X texted me that I'm a bad person for invading his privacy, and that I'm selfish, narcissistic, and a bad human being. He said that he's willing to forgive me though. Yeah, he really said that. I blocked his number and on everywhere, meaning she blocked him everywhere else. A day later, he came to me at work and I told him to stay away from me. He did that every day for 1 week at different locations until I seriously threatened him. He said that he never cared about me anyway and wished me luck for my future relationships. A couple days ago, my brother texted me. We haven't spoken at all since that day and apologized, but he still refuses to address the elephant in the room. He's just pretending it never happened. I told him that X is clearly not stable. Why would you not notify the police? I honestly don't know what to do. Is there a way I can report this just in case? And oh, by the way, it was his 21st birthday yesterday and I called him in the morning. He told me that he got a present from an unknown sender. I said that the sender is probably not unknown to us. Like, this is 100% my psycho ex. I just know it. As I said, this isn't a positive update. A lot of people seemed to be concerned, and that's the only reason I posted this. I just hope things don't get worse. Too Long Didn't Read confronted X about the contents of his laptop. He confessed and apologized. My brother doesn't want to talk about the situation at all, and he chose not to go to the police. Before we get to the comments, I want to explain a few things about this post, my personal interpretation of it. Again, assuming that this is not a troll, assuming that this story is true, which I personally think it is because she does sound genuinely distraught, and the details of the story sound way too intricate to not be true. However, you never know with the internet. But again, assuming this is true, I would say that she's not understanding that, again, she's 24. Like, I get it. She doesn't know. She's probably never been to therapy and stuff before. But her brother's in shock, right? Like, her brother's doesn't not care. He's not being nonchalant. He's probably trying to process it. And if you found out that one of your friends had a really creepy, violent, deep, scary sexual obsession with you and you had no idea, that would be traumatizing, horrifying. You wouldn't know what to do. He was probably scared to go to the police, or he just thought that maybe if I ignore it, it'll go away. Like, that was just like, again, I'm not a mental professional, but that just seems like textbook shock reaction to me. Everybody reacts to these things a different way. She reacted the way that we would expect somebody in a movie to react, where there's nothing wrong with that either, where she actually understandably freaks out immediately and wants to go to the police, and he is handling it in a different way. His brain is not processing it, and he is in so much shock. So I would imagine once it's sunk in, he probably had a different attitude about it. The second thing I want to say is just how abusive this person sounds. This sounds like textbook manipulation. Interesting that once they find out about it, then he's angry at first, but then when he realizes he can't get out of it, then suddenly he's nice about it and tries to cooperate. And then when she blocks him, he tries to follow her and tries to kind of calm things down and try to get her to forgive him. I would bet all of the money in my bank account that he doesn't feel bad. He's not trying to get her back. He doesn't care about what she thinks of him. I would bet all the money in my bank account that he was very worried that they found out and would go to the police and that he would be in big trouble. So he was trying to manipulate her into thinking that it was actually, he gaslit her, telling her that she is narcissistic, she's the crazy one, she's the one that went through his stuff, etc., and tried to deflect all the blame onto her to make her feel crazy so that she would think that maybe it is my fault, maybe I shouldn't have done that, maybe he's not actually weird, etc. Like, this is all just textbook manipulator, abusive partner shit, right? Like, we all know that by now. I just find it very interesting that then, like, he became really nice and he was trying not to make it worse, because I think he was really hoping he could manipulate them into not going to the police. That being said, the comments are predictable. Everybody told her to go to the police. The first comment: girl, take that whole laptop to the police. I am not kidding. This is very serious. If your brother ends up dead, you will never forgive yourself. This needs to be higher up. OP, this guy is showing serious signs of true psychopath and future serial killer behavior. You are not safe, and neither is your brother. Take that laptop and go to the fucking police now. Don't wait. Don't worry about anything else. And check your brother's house for more cameras instantly if the police don't. This is something you don't just stop doing. It's still happening now. You don't notice before, and you probably wouldn't have noticed it for months if you didn't look on the laptop. The way he talks to you and views the world is truly disturbing, and the way he told you to stop crying, that's psychopath behavior. How he went calm, same thing. There's a real fucking chance he will try to be near your brother in some other way, and he'll do something much worse to him than just pictures. Go to the police, stay safe. I have to agree, and while I wouldn't diagnose somebody as a quote-unquote psychopath without being a mental health professional, I understand that these are just people on Reddit and they're not making YouTube videos publicly where they can get in trouble for what they say. So I get where they're coming from. I would agree with everything else. I don't know why she doesn't know what to do. Like, this is so, like, this is what the police are literally for. Like, this is what everybody who was in this situation should go to the police. Remember that he was stalking her brother months before they dated, and that means that it's likely they started dating because he initiated the relationship with her in order to get close to her brother. And then also, after all this happens, he still allegedly, if that anonymous gift was him, which it most likely was, left him a gift for his birthday. This whole thing. I really hope she went to the police, but unfortunately, this remains a mystery as well. We have no idea what happened after this. These posts were deleted off of Reddit and we never got an update. I'm going to have faith that, because literally every single comment on this thread pretty much is telling her and urging her to go to the police, not just saying like, yeah, maybe you should go to the police. People are telling her, go now. It doesn't matter what your brother says. I just hope that she did, because it's possible they could prevent him. History tells us that if he hasn't actually carried out any crimes, unfortunately, they're not going to be able to do much. It's still important to just get it on the police's radar. And just because he didn't commit any violent crimes yet, he was still committing crimes. He was still stalking, taking photos of, sneaking. You can't just put cameras in people's showers, obviously. Oh, this is so creepy. I really hope that this woman and her brother ended up being okay. This last one that we're going to talk about today is from the best forum of all, Am I the Asshole, on Reddit. I'm just going to get right into this one because this one deeply, deeply disturbs me. Am I the asshole for banning my husband and father-in-law from the delivery room due to their intensely stressful / creepy behavior during my pregnancy? A lot of context, the character limit cuts off, but here's the gist. My husband and I are expecting our first child, which I knew would be a really sensitive issue as his own mother died in childbirth with him. We met with a marriage counselor to talk things through at the beginning, and he swears he's been seeing his own therapist twice a month throughout my pregnancy. I don't want to call him a liar, but I'm fairly sure he's either not going or not talking about the big issue. He and his father, a hugely active part of our lives, are completely convinced that I'm going to die in childbirth. They won't openly admit it, but their behavior has reached the point where it's constantly making me feel stressed and uncomfortable. When it was my husband saying, please make sure your life insurance is up to date, and I'd like you to meet with a lawyer and draft a will, I was like, that's kind of intense, but okay, if that makes you feel better. When husband asked me to go through all of my possessions and inventory what I wanted to be saved for the baby versus what I want to be returned to my family in the event of my death, I put my foot down and said absolutely not. Too morbid, no way. My father-in-law, who lives a few blocks away and eats dinner with us 2 to 4 nights a week, got on my case about how I was making things difficult for my husband in the event that he will be a grieving widower with a newborn. I'm just going to add here that I've had a completely complication-free pregnancy and have no reason to think I will die screaming in the coming weeks. When I tell my husband this, he calls me paranoid, but I feel like my father-in-law wants me to die. His whole life identity for the past 35 years has been amazing single dad. Never dated or had close friends or even hobbies, really. And it seems like he's looking forward to be able to guide my husband through what he went through. At this point, I'd honestly be happy to never see my father-in-law again, and I certainly don't want him in the delivery room, especially since he told me he was quote unquote putting his foot down about me not being quote allowed to have an epidural or laughing gas. He is a commanding presence, and I know that whatever he wants in the delivery room, he will get. I know people will say, oh, labor and delivery nurses would never let that happen, but you haven't met this man. My husband, in addition to backing his dad on everything, acts like my due date is my death date and has completely pulled away from me. Every minute with him is morbid, stressful, and a reminder that our marriage seems to be crumbling. No matter how many times I tell him his behavior makes me stressed and upset, it's just getting worse, and I do not want it around me while I'm concentrating on giving birth. Do I owe it to my husband to let him stress and upset me during labor? Is his presence at the birth more important than a safe and healthy delivery? My therapist says no, but this whole thing has been so weird, I feel like I need some outside perspective. The comments on this post, of course, everybody is telling her not the asshole, that she's done nothing wrong here, but obviously her being an asshole or not is the least of most people's concerns. Most people are saying, and my thoughts exactly, that this is terrifying and unhinged behavior on her husband and father-in-law's part. Let me read you some of her comments when she was responding to other commenters, because it paints even more of a picture and gets even darker than the original post. She said to one person, I just feel like I've been as understanding as possible. I scheduled marriage counseling to talk through things when I got pregnant, wanted to keep going, but my husband insisted he needed to work through things alone with his own therapists, and I didn't want to push the issue. I honestly don't know if I could be more sensitive without ramping up my own stress level. I caved and did the terminally ill parent recording videos for after their death thing. The issue that was the big impetus for me making this post was my father-in-law swinging by the house to help me pack up all my non-maternity clothes and take them to our storage unit. I was like, WTF, no, I'll need those soon. I'm active and healthy and relatively close to my pre-pregnancy size. He called me insensitive for not making things as easy as possible on my husband. Husband came home, saw that my clothes were still in the closet, and got upset with me because we, quote unquote, need to be prepared. Genuinely, am I being insensitive here for refusing to take part in the plans for my own death? Should I be supporting my husband by playing along? He won't discuss the stress/PTSD thing with me because he said he's working through it with his therapist and won't talk about anything they discuss. Is there anything I'm not seeing here? Things I can do to support my husband that don't involve me actively planning to die, screaming from a preventable hemorrhage? Her only other comment that she leaves to somebody else says, yeah, it's weird AF. Like I've said, I've always felt like he resented me a little for taking my husband from him, talking about her father-in-law, but we still get on really well. I've been completely unprepared for this because the way he treats me now is just unimaginably cold and weird and controlling. He was never like this before I got pregnant. When we got into it about the epidural/laughing gas, he told me that the only important part of delivery is a healthy baby, that medical intervention for the mother is inherently bad for the baby. And when I said my comfort is an important aspect of the birth, he told me your comfort in this process is irrelevant. So yeah, we're not coming back from that. Our relationship is completely done. So this is one of the most disturbing posts I have ever read on Reddit. And I just have to say, first, let's talk about this father-in-law. Even if he's just, let's say hypothetically, he's just eccentric. Let's just say he's a little overbearing, a little eccentric. He's not actually violent or doesn't actually wish upon this, and she's misinterpreting all of this. Based on what she's told us, he has crossed so many boundaries in her and her husband's relationship. I can't even count them on two hands. The fact that he lives only a few blocks away from him, but then uses that to have dinner with them 2 to 4 times a week, and then trying to be in every aspect of the pregnancy is weird, unhinged behavior. And it's like he wants to be a third spouse in this relationship and feels entitled to what his daughter-in-law's body is doing during this process and feels entitled to the baby as well. It's creepy, it's unhealthy, and it's gross. However, I feel like it is more nefarious than that, just based on my speculation. And what concerns me most is that in the original post, she talks about how her father-in-law told her that he would be able to manipulate and convince the nurses and hospital staff if he was in the delivery room with her not to give her laughing gas or an epidural, and that she is scared for him to be in the delivery room, which it doesn't sound like he was going to actually be in there. It sounded like she was putting her foot down there, thankfully, but it sounded like she was convinced that even if that was against protocol and that she wanted those things, her father-in-law is manipulative and forceful enough to get people to do what he wants. That's really creepy. And the way that she described that, the way she described the way he is and this entire situation, as well as the fact that it seems like her father-in-law low-key wants her to pass away so that I guess not low-key, more like high-key. It feels like he's being pretty blunt with it. Wants her to pass away so that he and her husband, his son, can just raise the baby together, and then he can get the sympathy of being a widower just like he got to be. Makes me feel like if he was in the delivery room, he would do something to put her actively in danger. That's not an accusation. That is, of course, speculation. I have no proof that he would actually do that. I don't even know who this person is, obviously, but that is what it seems like deep down she is actually scared of, is that he would do something to make it more likely that she would have a complication. It's like he wants his daughter-in-law dead, but he doesn't actually want to do anything that would put him in jail. The husband is unbelievably brainwashed. This just gives me unbelievable ick. You should never in a million years, a parent should not be imposing themselves into this relationship, and your spouse or your partner should never be taking your parent's side over your side. Like, your partner should be the number one person in your life that you always try to work with and make it work with, and take their side somehow, figure out how to take their side. And the fact that he's defending his father and being on his father's side is also very, very, very creepy. The last thing that creeps me out about this, possibly above all else, is that her husband and her father-in-law are treating her like an object. They're treating her like a vessel for the baby, and like she's not a human being as well, and that she is completely irrelevant to the birth. and this baby coming into the world is, again, unhinged. To say that she should not have a say over whether she wants an epidural or not, or the other things that she does or doesn't want during the birth, is so objectifying and absolutely treating her like she's just this little pod that he gets his grandchild with, and that she's not a human herself, and that she's disposable, and that she should be disposed of so that him and his son can be the heroes. They can take over and be the heroes to the rest of society and everybody they know. Even more disturbing, like all of these posts, we never got an update after this. Other than these couple of comments, OP never replied or posted an update about what happened. I'm assuming the birth went well, and I would assume, since this is just an Am I the Asshole post, that they just never got back to updating in spite of people asking for an update. But again, I just hope that her and her baby are healthy and safe, that her father-in-law and her husband were not welcome in the delivery room. She said it herself. I try not to be drastic like a lot of Redditors where they're just like, divorce them, because a lot of Reddit is like that. But I do think that in this case, and she herself was saying her marriage was crumbling, she seemed to be very creeped out by her husband, that if she wanted to get away from her husband and he was being full on abusive to her, that she was able to get away and get custody of that kid. Because I would fear for my life after the baby was born if I was her personally. All right, guys, that is going to be it for today's video. Let me know if you like this type of video. I'll see also based on the analytics if it does well. If people want more videos like this, I can make this into a series. And yeah, don't forget our sponsor, 11 Pies. And yeah, I'll see you guys all in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much to all the Patreons. Top tiers are Colin Holmes, The Deck of Cards, Michelle Vinos, Little Kittle Cat, Mitchell Schaefer-Meyer, Momo Neon, Marita144, Elderly Hipster, Rebecca Jackson, Quinn Amon, Cobblecon Anime and Gaming Convention, Sarah the Crazy Fish Lady, Maxie, Ellison Luna, Tiny Mighty Bookworm, A Bunny Apparently, Leon Vanek, I Am In Your Walls, Habromania, Cyberdog Investigations LLC, Vicky Cat, Amy B, Take Urch, Dead Without the E, Chara, MH Dave, Ami, Lindsay R, It's Tara, obviously, Shayna R, El Magnificoco, Laura Winter, Lilith, Dana, Ashes, Gosh Zilla, Geo, Arya Anomaly, Ghosty Girl, Mel Miller, Jessica Cook, Mark Fagundes, and Mike.